The flight was calm until the pilot's voice turned the cabin into a courtroom. A black passenger, silent in his seat, was suddenly accused of being a security threat. No reason, no evidence, just arrogance with a badge and a microphone. Passengers stared as uniformed officers marched down the aisle. Cameras rolled, the man rose slowly, eyes steady, as the pilot barked, "You're done here." But moments later, the world would learn the truth. He wasn't a threat at all. He was the mayor's son, a civil rights attorney who would soon bring the entire airline to its knees. The sun rose over Atlanta, painting the tarmac in gold. Flight 279 to Philadelphia waited at Gate 14. Engines humming softly. Inside the cabin, passengers settled in. Coffee cups, headphones, small talk. It felt like an ordinary morning until it wasn't. David Turner, a calm black man in his 30s, placed his briefcase beneath the seat and fastened his belt. His face carried quiet focus, the look of someone used to solving problems before others even noticed them. Beside him, a young boy fidgeted with a toy plane. Across the aisle, a woman scrolled through news about city politics. Up in the cockpit, Captain Ronald Hayes adjusted his headset. 25 years in the air had made him confident. Too confident, he had seen every type of passenger. But when his first officer mentioned a man in 12A talking in another language, Hayes's instinct wasn't curiosity. It was suspicion. "Keep an eye on him," he muttered. "We're not taking chances today." Moments later, David made a quick phone call, switching effortlessly between English and Arabic. A simple conversation with his colleague about a legal hearing. But to the wrong ears, prejudice sounded louder than reason. The flight attendant appeared at his side, stiff smile in place, "Sir. The captain's requesting a brief word before takeoff." David frowned. "Is there a problem?" "Just a routine check," the cabin quieted, eyes turned. The pilot himself emerged from the cockpit. Cap in hand, posture full of self-importance, "Sir," Hayes said loud enough for everyone to hear. "We've had reports of suspicious behavior." "I need to ask what you were discussing." David blinked, incredulous. "My work." "I'm an attorney," Hayes smirked. "Right. And I'm the president." "Step off the plane, please." The passengers stirred. Whispering, a woman gasped. Someone pulled out their phone. "I'm not leaving," David said firmly. "I've done nothing wrong." Hayes's tone hardened. "Then you're delaying a federal flight. Do you want to make this worse?" The silence that followed was deafening. 2 airport security officers boarded, their badges catching the cabin light. They approached David like he was a threat. "Sir, please stand," one said quietly. David gathered his jacket and briefcase, moving slowly, his dignity the only thing they couldn't take. As he passed the pilot, Hayes muttered under his breath, "You people never learn boundaries." Cameras caught every word. Within hours, the footage hit social media. By the time the plane landed, the video had been viewed over 2 million times. Hashtags exploded, "No flying while black, justice for David." The airline scrambled to release a statement calling it a misunderstanding. But the internet had already turned the pilot into a villain. Commentators demanded answers. Civil rights leaders demanded reform. Then came the twist. David Turner wasn't just any attorney. He was the son of Philadelphia's mayor and a senior counsel for the state's civil rights division. The man labeled a security threat was the very person who wrote the state's anti-discrimination policy. When the news broke, the pilot's world shattered overnight. Vidian Airlines received thousands of calls in a single hour. Sponsors threatened to pull funding. The mayor's office announced a formal investigation into the airline's training, conduct, and racial bias record. The next morning, the headlines blared across every screen. Pilot calls mayor's son a security threat. Airline faces federal review over racial profiling. The CEO of Vidian demanded an emergency meeting. "Who is this man?" she asked. Her assistant handed her a file. Attorney David Turner, Civil Rights Counsel, Harvard Law, former military linguist. The CEO's face went pale. "We profiled a linguist who served this country. Yes, ma'am, on video." She turned to her staff. "Find the pilot now." Captain Hayes was pulled into a conference room that afternoon. Cameras flashed outside the glass walls. PR officers whispered frantically. "You've put the company at risk." One executive said, "I did my job," Hayes snapped. "He was acting strange?" Another voice echoed. "You accused a decorated attorney of terrorism because he spoke Arabic. Do you even hear yourself?" Hayes's jaw tightened. "I was protecting passengers from a phone call." Silence. He was suspended on the spot. 3 days later, the mayor addressed the press. David stood beside him, composed, his voice steady. "This isn't just about one man," David said. "It's about a system that assumes black confidence equals threat, and authority means immunity. That ends now." Reporters scribbled furiously as he continued. "We're establishing a new civil review. The Turner Protocol, to retrain airline staff nationwide. It won't fix the past, but it will prevent the next humiliation from ever taking off. The applause was slow, reverent. Even the mayor's eyes glistened. Months later, at a national aviation conference, David stepped on stage as the keynote speaker. The audience was packed. Pilots, executives, government officials. Among them sat Captain Hayes, no longer in uniform, working as a ground marshal. When David's name was announced, Hayes shifted uncomfortably. He'd lost everything. His title, his career, his reputation. But he'd gained something he never expected. A lesson. David looked out across the audience, paused and began. When someone calls you a threat, remember this. The loudest fear often comes from the weakest power. Hayes lowered his head. The crowd rose in standing ovation. Afterward, David exited through the terminal where travelers hurried past. Unaware they were walking beside the man who changed an entire industry. His phone buzzed with a message from his father. "Proud of you, son. The skies are safer now." David smiled faintly. Outside, a plane lifted into the horizon, sunlight glinting off its wings. He whispered to himself, "They tried to ground me, but I was born to fly higher." And as the engines roared overhead, so did the truth. Power built on prejudice will always fall to quiet, unshakable dignity. If you believe dignity should never be treated as a threat, stand with truth today. Like this video, share it everywhere. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what moment hit hardest. Subscribe.